Texas football pulls off a near record-setting performance. Soccer picks up a pair of wins, and volleyball stays undefeated. All of this and more on College Press Box. Welcome into College Press Box. I'm Jason Kinander, she's Emme Basnett, and we are very excited to be here tonight. On Saturday, Texas football looked to pick up their first conference win at home against Texas Tech. Needless to say, they were able to do just that and more. Let's take a look at Saturday's action. 4th and 4, opening possession. Casey Thompson hits Bijan Robinson, who pulls off a nasty juke en route to this 38-yard touchdown to open up the scoring. Ensuing possession for Texas Tech. Never mind, actually 14-0. Tyler Show takes himself, dives into the end zone to cut the Texas lead in half, 14-7. Again, on first down, Show throws it over the middle, intercepted by Josh Thompson. His second takeaway in as many games, 28-7. Thompson on 3rd and 5, throwing it deep, a beautiful dart to Xavier Worthy in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. Texas Tech responding, new quarterback Henry Colombi airing it out on 1st and 10, way down the field to Miles Price for the score. Midway through the third quarter, Thompson, Worthy, again like a broken record, his second score of the game. Texas Tech wouldn't stop there though. First play of the ensuing drive, airing it out to Kalen Geiger for the 75-yard score. This was officially a shootout. Here we go again with Thompson stepping back, firing over the middle to Worthy, who does the unthinkable, pulls off the spin move and another juke, and they will not catch him. Very worthy of a highlight reel play by Xavier in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, this would finally stop the scoring as Columbia would take it himself. 70-35 would be the final in this one. Yes, 70-35. As we take a look at the stats from the game, Casey Thompson continuing his incredible start as the Texas starting quarterback with 6 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson with another 136 yards on the ground and the receiving touchdown. Worthy with 5 catches for a whopping 100 yards and a trio of scores as he stays red hot.
This past weekend, Texas took on Texas Tech, just like Jason was saying, and they won 70-35. So, Harrison, what stood out to you about Texas's performance against the Red Raiders? And also, we're welcoming football analyst Harrison.
The Texas Longhorns dominated early and often in their matchup with the Red Raiders this past Saturday. Texas came out with a high motor and a level of intensity that fans and critics have been waiting to see for a long time. The offense drove up and down the field with ease, receiving significant contributions from skill players like Xavier Worthy and Jordan Whittington, while also punishing the ground game led by Heisman candidate Bijan Robinson, who finished with 191 all-purpose yards. The offensive line did not allow a single pressure all game, not only by being assignment sound, but by also winning their individual matchups. The O-line was equally as effective run blocking and creating holes, resulting in 336 yards on the ground. This was a group that was criticized heavily for the first 2 games, but it looks like offensive line coach and coordinator Kyle Flood has them in sync.
Yeah, like you were saying, the offensive line has made leaps and bounds since that game against Arkansas. Casey Thompson had 303 passing yards and 5 touchdowns on Saturday. What does this performance say about Casey Thompson as a quarterback?
Casey Thompson's performance Saturday solidified his role as starting quarterback for the Texas Longhorns. Going back to his second half performance against Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, Casey Thompson has scored on the last 24 out of 27 drives as QB. While many question the validity of Casey's performance against a lesser Rice, no offense, in his first start in Big 12 play, Casey looked comfortable, confident, and extremely prepared. In fact, Coach Sark even said that Thompson understands the playbook extremely well. Casey is a gamer. He may not play his best in practice, but it's just practice. When the lights get bright, he shows up. In the game, Thompson was patient in the pocket by letting plays develop, but he also ran when he needed to. Now, was he perfect? No. One of his 5 incompletions came on an unnecessary pass to a covered Jordan Whittington, which resulted in an interception. However, his 5 touchdowns and an additional rushing score shows his potential in Coach Sark's explosive offense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Casey Thompson was the guy going forward for Texas. Texas has lost to TCU the past 6 out of the 7 times they have played each other. What do you see as being the biggest challenges for them this weekend when they play them for the 8th?
Texas is going into Fort Worth having lost the last 3 times since they've played there. Even though they are coming in as the better team, the Horned Frogs, along with their fan base, will give the Horns everything that they have. Max Duggan, the quarterback for TCU, will throw deep shots and try to expose Texas's secondary, a group that gave up several big plays in the second half last game. Now also, Texas wide receivers will have to be sound in releases and route running if they're going to get open in Gary Patterson's defense. And finally, the Longhorns' biggest challenge is that they have to remain composed in the hostile environment waiting for them on Saturday. Now, if the Texas Longhorns want to start the season 2-0 in Big 12 play, they're going to have to trust each other and play within themselves.
Yeah, that sounds like they're going to have their work cut out for them, but I think they can do it. Thank you so much for joining us, Harrison, and talking some football with me. When we come back, a more detailed look at the Lady Longhorns' victory over OU. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back into College Press Box. Yesterday, Texas women's soccer beat Oklahoma 4-3 with a goal in the 88th minute of the game. Let's take a look at the highlights. It was a warm afternoon at Mike A. Myers Stadium, and Emily Jane Cox kicks it off with the first goal of the game. Then it is Lexi Missimo to Trinity Byers with the second goal for Texas. At the start of the second half, it's Lexi Missimo again to Trinity Byers, and is that deja vu? I guess it is, because it's a third goal for Texas. But later on in the game, it's time for OU to answer back with their first goal of the afternoon with Megan Riley. A free kick from Megan Riley again, and it is good. 3-2 Texas. Then it's another long kick. Emily Jane Cox can't keep it away, and it's Bree Amos with the third OU goal of the game. And the 88th minute, it is Sydney Nobles with the goal, and Texas celebrates their 4-3 victory over Oklahoma.
Quite the exciting game over the weekend. I am now lucky to be joined by our soccer analyst, Jordan Geelhoed. Jordan, what has Texas excelled in during these past 2 games?
I think that Texas has done a really good job at creating chances for shots on goal. In the K-State game, Texas had 12 shots, 6 of which were on goal, with 2 of them finding the net. And in the OU game, there were 9 shots, 5 on goal, and 4 of them getting in. They've done a good job getting passes up to their star forward trio of what fans like to call Run BMG. Byers, Missimo, and Grosso have combined for 18 of UT's 24 goals on the season, and a big reason for that is the offense's ability to manufacture scoring chances.
You know what they say, anytime a trio of players can have a nickname, they're doing something right. So
that's right.
Let's go away from those 3. Which freshman has impressed you the most so far this season?
I'm going to single in on one of them, and I'm going to say that I've been very impressed by Trinity Byers, the freshman from Richardson, who scored 1 goal versus Kansas State and 2 goals versus Oklahoma. She currently has a streak of scoring a goal in 5 consecutive games, which ties Nikki Arlett's program record from 2007. Her brace in Norman was the 2nd of her young career and the 5th multi-goal performance of any Texas player this season. I've also liked what I've seen from Lexi Missimo, another freshman up front who bagged 3 assists in the OU game and leads the team in assists with 8. With these 2 up front, the future looks bright for the Horns.
You know, even better than that good nickname for the 3 of them is the fact that 2 of them are freshmen. So
that's right.
You're right. Bright future. Last question. What can Texas improve upon in their future conference matchups?
I think that it hasn't been perfect. I think that Texas could improve a bit on keeping their foot on the gas during the second half. Now, we know how fond the football team is of the saying, all gas, no brakes, and I think the soccer team might want to adopt that as well. In the K-State game, it wasn't that much of a problem because they seemed to be in control of the game, even without a score in the second half. But against OU, Texas seemed to struggle once the Sooners started to engage the press and ramp up the intensity. They let up 3 goals late, including a costly own goal mistake, which never should have occurred. Thankfully, Sydney Nobles was able to get that amazing goal strike in the final minutes to secure the W, but Texas needs to work on finishing games as well as they start them.
Thank you very much, as always, for joining us. As you said, all gas, no brakes. We are going to keep our foot on the gas pedal here. When we return, we'll be joined by Chloe Figueroa, who will walk us through last week's volleyball action. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back into College Press Box. On Wednesday, top-ranked Texas volleyball took on Rice, looking to defend their 8-0 record. Here's how the Longhorns fared in the match. Texas was able to sweep Rice, winning in straight sets, 25-14 the score in each of the 3 sets. Logan Eggleston continued her spectacular season with 13 kills, while Jenna Gabriel recorded a whopping 29 assists. The Lady Horns will open up conference play on Thursday and Friday at home against West Virginia.
I'm here with volleyball analyst Chloe Figueroa. Chloe, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Chloe, as the 2020 Big 12 Conference Player of the Year and 5-time Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week, Logan Eggleston has proven herself to be a very critical talent for Texas. Has she proven to be the best in the Big 12, though?
I think she has right now. She's leading Texas with 120 kills, averaging 4 kills per set. She has 6 double-doubles on the season and is second in service aces on the team. She's shown her versatility on the floor. Being the dominant power offensive force that she is, she's one of the biggest reasons why Texas is 9-0. She's able to bring the best out of her teammates and is a very important leader to this Texas team. Like you said, she has won Big 12 Player of the Year last year, and I think she's looking to repeat her title this year too.
Yeah, I think she may be a top contender for that one. Who is Texas's biggest competitor going into the #1 ring spot right now?
I think Ohio State is. Even though they've lost a few games, losing to Penn State yesterday, they can give Texas a hard time. Led by their opposite side hitter, Emily Londa, her name's a little confusing. They're ranked #2 in kills per set and have a similar playing style to Texas with their offensive force and love to attack the ball. Once they have momentum, it's really hard for them to let up a lead, just like Texas. And other like Texas, they're very important on team connection and will tear other teams apart. They are a team that if they keep playing, they're gonna go down to the last point. And when it comes to bracket play, Texas should be ready for Ohio State.
But those last point games are always super exciting to watch. Now that you mentioned going into Big 12 play, how should Texas prepare for going into conference matchups?
You know, they don't really have to prepare a lot, but they should keep playing with a hard offensive force like they have been and really show the shine on the defensive side. But most importantly, they have to be ready mentally. During the Texas A&M game, a huge rivalry game, there's about 7,000 fans in attendance. They had a slow start and kind of looked all over the place in their sets, and they weren't the same Texas team that they have been before. Even though they still won, they can learn a lot by looking back at these games. They have to reduce service errors because other and stronger teams are going to take advantage of those and get the points out of it. Fixing these little things can go a long way for this Texas team, and they have to be ready for big rival games, especially against Oklahoma and #10 Baylor.
Yeah, Oklahoma and Baylor have proven to put up a good fight against Texas in the past. But thank you so much, Chloe, for joining us. When we get back, a special look at Justin Tucker making NFL history. Stick around. Welcome back into College Press Box. This past weekend, former Longhorn Justin Tucker secured his spot in the record books. Coach John Harbaugh calls kicker Justin Tucker the best kicker in NFL history. And a dramatic end to a game, the Lions lost to the Ravens due to a 66-yard field goal by Justin Tucker, which first bounced off the crossbar before going through the posts. It is now the record for the longest field goal in history, surpassing the previous record of 64 yards by Matt Prater in 2013.
Men's tennis notched 1 singles and 1 doubles victory on Sunday at the Southern Intercollegiate Championships in Athens, Georgia. Sophomore Micah Braswell recorded the singles win for the Horns, while sophomore Siem Woldeb and junior Nevin Armili paired for the doubles win.
For the second time this season, the women of the Texas cross-country team took the top 7 finishes to secure the Concordia Classic win. A few notable standouts: senior Beth Ramos won the women's 6K with a time of 20:49.4. Close behind her were sisters Isabel and Monica Hebner, both rounding out the top 3 finishers, with Maddie Hatfield, Alyssa Duhart, and Grace Johnson in the top 10 finishers, respectively. The Longhorns scored a perfect 15 points and will have 3 weeks to practice until their next race on October 15th at the FSU Invitational in Florida.
This week in Longhorn sports, it is an absolutely loaded slate, leading off with soccer taking on TCU at 6 p.m. at home on Longhorn Network. Volleyball will face off against West Virginia on Thursday and Friday at home. Thursday's game will take place at 8 p.m., Fridays at 7. Both games will be on Longhorn Network. This week, men's tennis will compete in the ITA Championships in Tulsa. Women's tennis will play in the Baylor Invitational in Waco. And finally, the game that we have all been waiting for or dreading, Texas football will finally battle against TCU in Fort Worth in a game that will take place on ABC at 11 a.m. Saturday morning.
And that's a wrap for tonight's show. But be sure to check out College Crossfire on Wednesdays and Want to Know Sports Show on Fridays. From everyone here in the studio and in Master Control, I'm Emme Basnett.
I'm Jason Kinander.
Have a great night.